it up.
Yeah.
Yay! Are we live?
We're live.
Woo! Hello, everyone joining us here in person and on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for joining our first in-person town hall in 2 years. But for 2022, we're so excited to have you here. My name is Lois. My pronouns are she, her. A visual description: I am a short white woman, even shorter now that I'm sitting, with short dark hair. I have a Hollywood Fringe, like classic t-shirt on, some black jeans, and a leather jacket because I'm very chilly. That's my visual description. I've worn many hats at the festival, but this year for the first time, I am your festival director. So this is my first town hall in this position. I'm honored and excited to lead you on this journey. And for those of you that are new, we get to do this together. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you so much to the Zephyr Theater and to Amber, who is, yes, thank you Amber, for hosting us today in this beautiful space. We're so happy to be here. We do have an interpreter here today. Thank you, Joe. He is making sure that our festival is accessible. We will have interpreters available at all of our town halls. And because of the interpreter gate, myself and Ellen will stay stationary so that everyone can see everyone. So if I start to get up, just scream at me, yeah? All right, so this will not be a Ben Hill town hall. I will stay put. I also spit less, so yay team.
Splash zone.
I love you, Ben. All right. As we talked about, this is being live streamed and recorded. So because of that, we are in this weird hybrid world, and it's super fun. We'll take questions throughout the event. We'll kind of break it up into chapters. That way we can pull the community in more so. And at this point, I'll introduce Ellen, or let her introduce herself, who is up here with me.
Hey everyone, my name is Ellen. I'm the executive director at Fringe. And I'm also going to be monitoring the chat on YouTube, so you'll see me in there kind of answering questions and bringing them into the room. I'm super excited to be here with everybody today. My pronouns are she and they. A visual description is that I have dark brown hair with some bangs that I just cut last night, a very colorful sweater, and black jeans, and I am a white woman with a little bit of red splotches on my face today because I have a non-contagious rash.
Important point. In this world we live in. Thank you, Ellen. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about COVID right now. We'll go into it into much detail, don't worry, a little later. But for those of you that are joining us here in person, let's make sure we keep our masks on. We know the drill at this point. We appreciate it, and it's important to do all we can to keep our community safe. For your knowledge, Ellen and myself, who are unmasked at this event, are both vaccinated, boosted, and we tested this morning to make sure that we are coming in as safe as possible as well. Something that, again, we'll talk more about this, but we want to start to get used to sharing our boundaries with COVID. We all come into COVID with a different experience. We're affected in different ways. I myself take care of my 2-year-old goddaughter during the week, so my boundaries are a little more strict than someone else's. So I think as we move into this in-person festival, because we are going to be way more in-person than we were able to be last year, we just start to know how to name our own boundaries and to respect the boundaries named by our fellow Fringers. And we're all going to have a really safe and really happy time if we do that. Okay. Fringe, that's why we're all here. It's a huge subject. I won't pretend it isn't. Today is going to be a little more focused. We're going to talk about these beginning stages. So what is this crazy festival you have all decided to take part in? What does this festival look like? What is registration and how does it work? And all the details within that. The beginning started of the whole thing. And we'll talk a little bit about planning and budgeting as well. We have a whole workshop on budgeting coming up this month. But it's good to start that conversation now because the financials of doing a festival are important. We want you to succeed. We also don't want you to not be able to pay your rent because of the festival. So planning these things out early are very important. If you succeed, we succeed. That's how this all works. Okay, let's start off. If everyone's following at Hollywood Fringe across social media, yeah? If you're not, great. Okay, if you are not, I recommend doing so, along with the newsletters, which I'm guessing if you're here or listening on YouTube, you are on. So yay, step one. Social's another great way to start to, we'll announce all programs, we'll keep you up to date on social as well as those newsletters. So that's a great way to find out information directly from us. It's also a great way to start getting to know your community. Start using hashtag HFF22 whenever you're posting about the festival, about your show. You're going to want to use that so the community is involved. We are a collective in that way. Know that this information is available after today. I think, let all the anxiety kind of wash away. It will be available on multiple platforms after today. Like we said, we're recording this so you can watch this at a later date. You can take notes right now, but you can watch it again to kind of refresh this information. We also have our Subportal, which if you're not familiar is, we call it the Subportal. It's the support portal on our website. You can find that at support.hollywoodfringe.org. And that's gonna have everything about the festival. It's taken years and years. We've been around for 12 years. And in those 12 years, we've really refined how we share information. And that has everything from what this organization's about, what the festival is, and what you need to know as participants. Another thing to know is support@hollywoodfringe.org. Support@hollywoodfringe.org. That is your new best Fringe pal. Dave, who set up this beautiful live stream. Thank you, Dave, who's also right outside at this moment making sure the live stream is working, which, there it is. There it is. He answers that, and myself and Ellen do as well sometimes. So know you have a lifeline. Whenever you come across a question, a concern, a problem, we are your lifeline. Do not hesitate to reach out to that email. We love hearing from you. Okay, I'm trying to talk fast, but not too fast, I promise, so that we can get through this in about 60 to 70 minutes. That way we do have time for questions at the end. Like I said, we are gonna try out this new thing where we take questions in sections. It might fail miserably, and if it does, know that we learn along the way as well. Right? So if this is one of our epic fails this year, I think we're doing okay though. Like it's of all the epic fails, this one won't be so bad. Okay, that is my spiel. At the end of this whole workshop, join us outside. The Zephyrs kindly provided refreshments. So we'll do a light mixer, a get to know each other session. You can ask us questions that are more specific to your show, that sort of thing. I'm gonna mention that donations are welcome to the theater as well, since they are providing those lovely refreshments. Okay, we ready? We ready for the information?
Woo!
Everyone, deep breath. It's gonna be a lot. I am just going to speak words at you, and it's okay if only 50% of it makes sense, okay? Because remember, we have all of those lifelines to come back to. Okay, what is Fringe? If you're new to the festival, you might not know that Fringe is an entire thing outside of just Hollywood Fringe. So it started in Edinburgh in 1947. Yes, I got that date right. That was never my strong suit in school. With the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland. They had a curated international festival in town, and artists came in wanting to join. They wanted to perform as well. They were denied. This was a curated festival, right? So as artists do, they said, like we can't get uninvited to produce our art. So on the fringe of this curated festival, they still produced, they created, they shared their stories. And that's what you're doing here today. You're showing up, they showed up, and on the fringe, hence the name of this more international, more corporate festival, they made their art happen. So that's what Fringe is. It's now all over the world, different cities, different countries. There is a World Fringe network that we are a part of. There's conferences and everything. Like it's a whole shebang. And it's a really cool community. Just like you all join in community at Hollywood Fringe, we join in community with the World Fringe network. And we're able to share information and share different programs and ideas. And that's how we support the artists in our specific cities. So it's so much broader than Hollywood Fringe, which is really cool. Okay, so Hollywood Fringe happened in 2010. So we're about 12 years, 11 festivals. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yes. That 2020 really mucked it all up. So we're 12 years in, 11 festivals in, and we showed up in 2010, and I use we collectively. I was not at the first festival, but the co-founders were, and they created this festival, and it immediately became one of the largest in the US. Why? Well, cool story, LA is a theater town. People just didn't realize it. So by bringing all of the artists together, it created a community, and it created a strength in numbers, and all being in one location at one time of year. So that's the Fringe. We follow Edinburgh's model pretty closely. If you are familiar with other fringes, we are open access. We're gonna continue to talk about that, because that's a big part of our festival model. We have a platform for any story that you wanna share. We open the gates wide open, because who are we to say what art is? It's why we have such amazing productions come through the Hollywood Fringe Festival, is because we don't put boundaries. The only boundaries we put on are location in the Fringe Zone, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And now with COVID, we have some boundaries. But outside of that, we want whatever your story is. So that's our uncurated model. Okay, what it is in a quick list style thing. It's a performing arts festival, right? Hopefully we all know that, otherwise this is going to be a very confusing town hall. It is open access, again, and not every Fringe festival is. Many are, but we are in fact open access. It is community centered. Community, community, community. It is going to come up over and over today and at every Fringe event. If it was a drinking game, it would be very dangerous because it is such a big part of what we do. The Hollywood Fringe is a festival, certainly, and it's an amazing aspect, but the community spirit within the festival, that is what you're signing up for. It's an opportunity to try experimental work. There's a freedom to fail at Fringe because it's not as expensive to produce at the Fringe as it would be to do a standalone production, to be in a venue for a month all on your own. You have more freedom to fail here. Can you still fail? Absolutely, in anything you do. Oh, we're gonna have to bring in the theater etiquette next time. I totally kid. No, you're totally fine. You're all good. I'm actually now questioning whether or not I turned my cell phone off that is sitting right in front of you, so we'll find out.
We're all good.
You're not alone. Okay, so it is an opportunity to really try something new. It also is an opportunity though, to bring in work that you've already really established. It does not have to be a workshop or some experimental piece that you haven't really mounted yet. We have a place for everything, and know that everything shows up. We have, the Fool for Love, because the one that comes to mind, because we've seen that a couple times. But it's not just the experimental, completely unknown pieces. We have everything across the board, but it is a safer space to give your work kind of that first mounting of a full production. It's also an opportunity to build audiences. You suddenly are now a part of a Fringe community. Your audience is my audience is Ellen's audience. The audience will go to show after show after show after show. You're also building a network of artists. It's the coolest thing to watch at the festival, where people will meet just like here at a town hall or at an office hours. They're nervous and anxious. They're maybe new to LA even, and they're getting to know people. And so we're seeing those first interactions, and then by the end of the festival, they're attached at the hip, and now they started a production company, and now they're planning huge productions. That's what happens here, and it's really cool to watch. I think last year it was a group of like 7 artists that they started to know each other during like the preseason, and then before you know it, they traveled as a pack, and it was amazing to watch happen. Okay, so what isn't the Fringe? Let's talk about that too, right? It's not curated. We talked about that. We will never say your work cannot be produced at our festival. It's also though not a place for us to produce your work. We produce the Fringe Festival. We produce the platform where you produce your play. It's not an aesthetic, it's a model, right? It's a platform for your work. But with that too, it doesn't have to be fringy. You don't have to have a show that's super weird and fringy in order for it to fit our festival. We see everything. Weird is fantastic and celebrated, but so is classic and refined. So whatever you have totally works. The last one is it's not a place for jerks. And that has been our rule since day one in 2010, no jerks allowed. Since then, we have gone into detail about what that means in our code of conduct, which is, it's not difficult to follow. In any professional or social environment you choose to take part in this world, there's a code of conduct that you sign up to follow, right? But it's basically don't be a jerk and you're gonna be fine. We also take this code of conduct very, very seriously. So know that if you do something that takes away the safety of our community, there will be consequences, because the safety of our community is so important so that we can all produce really vulnerable work and really take artistic risk, because you are in a safe space to do so. We have conduct at Hollywood Fringe is the email to reach out if you do need help. If someone that has broken this code of conduct, you don't feel safe in our environment, reach out. That is an email that goes only to senior staff, only to Ellen and myself. And that will get handled very, very quickly. Okay. That was a big portion. Breathe. All right, we're almost there into like the nitty-gritty of registration. But what is the Hollywood Fringe Festival format? This is a subject we didn't really have until last year, because the festival format was pretty consistent. But I feel like now it needs to be addressed because we've had some switch-ups. So if you're familiar with last year, well, let's start in 2010. Our festival format was non-existent. We had planned a festival. That obviously wasn't possible, so we had to cancel. And in 2021, our goal was to create a festival in some fashion. We didn't know how it was going to work, but we knew that we needed to provide an opportunity for artists to do what they do. And that was the most important thing to us. So we created a model that was not something we'd done before, but it was something that made it possible for art to be produced in this city. So we did a hybrid, started out as only digital, moved into hybrid when we could, and also had a live stream only category. So this year, We're not doing any live stream only. There's some options for international participants or people that are not in town locally to participate, but we have a whole section on that in our international Subportal article. But it is so live in the zone, but we are keeping the live stream element. You are absolutely allowed, encouraged to live stream simultaneously your show, just like we're doing right now. Yeah? I don't know why this was necessary. If we're live streaming, I must dance. That's it. Now we know. So it's absolutely possible. We're doing it here. Some venues are going to have live stream that is built into their schedule. Other venues will not, but you're able to bring in your own. So that's going to be a question you have to ask yourself as you're booking the venue and planning out your experience. But no, at the festival, it doesn't cost any extra to live stream. We have it all built into the system for the ticketing. That whole section is taken care of for you on the festival side. So you can choose to do a live audience, not even mess with the technology, the digital. You can choose to ignore live stream, absolutely. You can choose to live stream some of your performances, or you can choose to live stream all of them. Entirely up to you. So that is our Fringe model that we now have to talk about every year. Thank you, COVID. Okay, I'm on the next page, go me. Okay, speaking of COVID, oh, I did that really well. Let's get it out of the way, because nobody wants to talk about it, but we live in a world where we have to talk about it. And so I'm gonna throw the not so fun conversation to Ellen.
Hi, your friendly immunocompromised person here talking about COVID. And honestly, we all come at it with a really different perspective. Some of us have had to work, like myself, throughout the pandemic, and have been in person since September of 2020. Some of us are still working from home and kind of taking this first foray back in person. And we ask that we all come at each other with kindness and acceptance of our own ways that we need to navigate through this. If you're on the street with another Fringer and somebody's like, do you mind pulling on your mask while we ask this question? Just pull on your mask and then talk to them and then say, hey friend, I'm actually really tired of wearing this mask. I'm gonna step down the street and be in a conversation that's more comfortable for me. That's okay too. So you can communicate these things without offending or making that person feel like they're wrong. Because some of us will be very comfortable being outside without a mask on. Some of us won't. And I think our restrictions are tight so that we can loosen, and also so that we can all come to the same understanding about what is expected, especially as we're probably gonna get more government regulations as this thing goes on. So we wanted to keep things tight so that when we get the new regulations that are supposed to come out through LA County this month, we don't have to change anything. When things happen, we know that if we had another variant, we could have an in-person festival that doesn't have any COVID cases on site like we did in 2021. So the restrictions are for right now for artists. Again, audiences, we're not going to determine that until April. We really need to decide what the pandemic looks like at that moment before we can say who's going to be able to come in our venues. And we talk with our venue partners about that. They're in conversation, and we make sure that everybody feels supported, artists will feel supported. We'll take a lot of feedback before that case. We typically follow government and industry standards and mesh them along with the best practices that come along, because of course there's going to be like the bare minimum, and then there's going to be the recommendations. And whatever's not going to break the bank for our producers or our venue partners, we're going to try and incorporate to keep it as safe as possible. That being said, we're also cognizant that not everybody has access to weekly testing and things like that, and so there are recommendations that we have set as well. So, for artists, at this moment, it may change. We are asking that you be vaccinated as well as boosted for all eligible boosters. So if there's another booster in the future, that would be incorporated in as well. We'll see. We don't know. Right now it's one.
No black market boosters.
No, and we will not force you to do something that is not legally advised. Yeah. Also, there's another option. If you're medically unable or religiously have a serious held belief that you cannot get a booster or you cannot get vaccinated, you can come to our events. You just need to present a negative test result within 72 hours of the event. So that way we can all feel really safe. We're also recommending that people get tested weekly, because we're gonna start hanging out with each other weekly. Starting our first big event is gonna be March 23rd, our office hours kickoff fundraiser that we're announcing today, where we're gonna have a giant indoor party, where we're going to be wanting these restrictions to be tight so that the next week we can go to another thing together, another thing together, another thing together, without having to, shut down the festival. So those are the two restrictions as far as like vaccinations versus negative tests. Everybody at this moment needs to be wearing a medical grade mask or something of that type. We have several of recommendations on our website. And that's just for now. As we're going through, we're starting this during a surge. Yay us. And we know that things might get a little bit different as we're moving closer to June. We're hoping that it'll look similar to last year, where June will be a safer time to have a festival than when we did in August. But we just don't know. We don't know what the government's going to say, and we're just trying to follow all of the practices that we see coming through other theaters as well as our government regulations. My last thing is that we're not here to ban anyone. If you make a mistake, we're going to talk to you about it and try and make it work. We are going to have extra masks on site. They're very expensive, so please do not rely on that. We are a nonprofit, very small. You can read our annual report about how small.
How nonprofit
we're very nonprofit. We're not full-time here. But we will try and provide as much clarity, as much support as we move through this. We're looking into how we can increase testing sites around the Fringe Zone. We're trying to do what we can do to make this easy on you. And if we make a mistake, we're not going to be like, well, you're out. But if you make a mistake and then you're challenging a venue partner who's trying to do their job, or you challenge a Fringe staff member, or if that somebody in your show is uncomfortable and you're not following the rules and it gets reported to us, we're going to follow up. And then we're going to have a conversation. Is this a mistake? Is this putting somebody in danger? And then we'll have a conversation about what that means. It's just following our code of conduct. Basically, if during that conversation you break our code of conduct, then we kind of are already where we're at, right? So
No jerks allowed.
No jerks allowed. We want to come at this very easy. We want everybody to be able to say their needs and to be comfortable. And so that's my spiel. I think I'm done. I didn't read anything that I wrote, so I don't know if it made sense.
Which is a great time for questions. We're really doing this lead-in. It's like we practiced. So we're going to try this thing, right, where we ask questions after a big old section of stuff. So are there any questions? With questions, let's start marketing our shows right now. So get in the habit. If you have a question, say your name and what show you're bringing to Hollywood Fringe, because this is your first chance to start to get the name of your show out there. So any questions here in the in-person audience? Yes.
Hi, I'm Natasha Mercado. I am bringing Tree, a clown show directed by Deanna Fleischer. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Buck Kopinski.
Yeah!
Yeah, so my show in a similar style is very interactive as well. It's an immersive clown comedy. And so I'm wondering, and maybe you don't have the answer yet, but when interacting with the audience, like are there any rules around that? Like how close you get to people, or like if people can sign something beforehand, or what the deal is?
So as far as our regulations go, we keep them pretty tight so that we don't have, because our theaters are so small, we don't do social distancing. We didn't last year. That's not to say if we were legally required to do social distancing, we're gonna have to do that, right? But last year we were able to not do that because we asked that people were vaccinated or had a negative test result and wore masks in the theater and did these types of things so that people could still sit next to each other in the theater and have a mostly normal Fringe experience. And that's our aim. So if there's not any crushing government regulations that say that we have to include that, but by the way, we are not lawyers. We cannot protect you from getting sued, so I would highly recommend if you're gonna do something interactive, which a lot of immersive shows do, that you kind of run that by somebody so that you can make sure that you might have like a little agreement that they're coming in knowing that that's happening to them.
Yes.
Especially during this time where people are more sensitive, I would highly recommend putting up some sort of contract, which there's a lot of, we're gonna do a panel about immersive shows. You can ask those people about what they do, and then maybe get it run by a lawyer, because we've run our contract by the lawyer, we've run our policies, that type of thing. And we always recommend that if you're scared about legal stuff, that you ask a lawyer.
Yeah, but I think, just like full disclosure is always, especially with COVID, there's this whole new element of fear and uncomfort, but it could be as well, like, if you're sitting in the front row, please be advised, just like we would with strobes, or please be advised if you're in this space, there's flashing lights, so think about it that way as well. But I think you're right, the immersive panel is gonna have a lot of great information that's very specific to that sort of interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Lynn Beck. The show I'm bringing is All American. Just first want to say thank you so much for providing this information, because I know there's a lot to digest, and it's great also how early you start So 2 quick questions. I mean, I know the world is gonna change, we can't really predict exactly what COVID protocol, but at this stage, are the actors gonna be able to be unmasked?
If you're vaccinated, you can perform unmasked. If you're not vaccinated, fully vaccinated and fully boosted at this time, we're saying unmasked. We are hoping that by the time we get to June, it'll look a lot like it was when we were in August, and we can just like forego that regulation and have it be that negative test result that's really keeping us all the same amount of safe. But as of right now, we aren't able to pull that. And part of the reason that we have that performance part written in is because our event in March is going to have performers. And we'll be in a different time in March maybe than we would be in June. That being said, we're taking it a day at a time, and we're kind of just trying to follow the industry guidelines. We spent a lot of theater companies that are enforcing this as well, that we're just kind of looking at and kind of like trying to match what people are expecting when they go into a theater.
Outside of Fringe.
Outside of Fringe.
I will say, just to put some, I mean, granted, unless LA County, like remember, like the only reason these will get stricter is if LA County puts more restrictions on us. That's why we built it the way it is. That way it can only get looser. It cannot get stricter, because the last thing we want to is for you to be 2 months into your Fringe experience. You've cast your show, you have, hired your crew, you're ready to go, and then suddenly boosters have to be had, and now you lose half of your cast a month before the festival starts. So we're trying to avoid really putting you in a hard place later on if we have to make these stricter. So as it stands, if you are currently vaccinated and caught up on your boosters, you will be able to perform unmasked for that question. If you were unvaccinated or not yet boosted, that is you may be able to, but as of now, you would wear a mask. But that's getting clearer.
If you're performing in February,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, do you have any idea how many Fringe festivals there are around the world?
Yeah.
Hundreds,
yeah.
Really? Wow.
We're actually, we're going to I can give you a better answer in about 2 months when we go to our next Congress event. But,
yeah, it's very
there are hundreds. And it's so cool that they're in big, I'm actually, shout out to Adelaide Fringe. I'm drinking from their water bottle right now. Another fantastic festival. We are a very similar model to them as well. They're a lot bigger, but we have a very similar model.
I have some questions from the chat that I want to go through. Hi, friends. So our first question is, would we talk briefly about cabaret? Can you do an original song parody or any guidelines? We will put out guidelines for cabaret when we announce the program. We're doing some details about what type of cabaret. Sometimes we've done in-person cabaret. We've also done awesome digital cabarets. So we're just trying to work that out. Usually cabaret doesn't start until about May. So those will come out soon, but they're not out yet. And we'll make sure that that's included in the guidelines so that clarity is there. Because I know it's different performing in person than it is live streaming due to musical rights. And Lewis, that's from Macy, and Lewis said, I'm bringing Red by John Logan, and will we have to provide a COVID checker at the door? It depends on your venue. So with a lot of these situations, just putting it out there, the COVID requirements are on you as the primary producer. So if you're the primary producer of your show, you're responsible to make sure that you're following regulation, your cast is following regulation, and everything like that. Additionally, there might be some venues that run your box office, so you'll work it out with them what they're asking you to provide. Typically, yes, you will provide something, but some box offices are run through the venue, so it really is a check-in with your venue. But you are required to make sure that that's taken care of, and that that's a part of your contract and whatever.
A cool thing I'll note, though, is, again, with this community that we all really work together and we succeed together, it happened last year, and I have no doubt it'll happen again this year, where if you are at a theater where you are responsible for running your own box office, which means also whatever regulations we have in place for audience, you will be responsible for checking. Work with each other. So many participants were helping each other run the front box office, and then you can give them a comp to your show, or I'll take care of your show, you take care of my show. The community helps with that as well. Show up to an office hours and just start talking to people. Hey, I'm gonna need this and this. Who wants to, play Switch?
That's it from the chat. Any more? Oh.
Hi, Benji. I have to do a rock opera. It's called the Verse Violin Chorus. I'm doing, I think part 1 of it is what I'm saying. 2 very different questions. Is there like a I guess a go-to resource for finding actors, within Fringe, or is it more just like you would point to as some of the best places to go to?
Well, we'll do one at a time. You said 2 questions.
Oh,
So
the-
you can absolutely, Fringers will use, backstage, actors access, like all of the normal casting as well. But we have Facebook groups. The Hollywood Fringe runs one group, so that's one that we are admin on. There are also many other groups that we can share with you. They're not run by Fringe, but they just changed their name. LA Theater.
LA Theater Artists.
Thank you. Yes, LA Theater
Yes.
Artist is another great Facebook group. There's Fringers Alliance,
Fringers
another great one.
Alliance,
Again, these
yeah.
2 are not run by Fringe, but they have Fringe people all throughout these groups. And so I recommend social media as a great option, but then just the normal avenues as well.
And office hours. Honestly,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think one of the biggest ways, and that's why we're bringing it back in person. Without office hours, Fringe doesn't feel the same. As somebody, it is an amazing resource to be able to go, walk into a place, and just know that everybody there is looking to cast their show, looking to have ideas, bounce ideas back and forth, looking to fill seats, swapping comps. This is where friendships are made. And so I would say that would be another great resource. They'll be like, oh, you know what, my friend, she's an amazing singer and it would totally fit that role that you're talking about. Let me give you the name, you know. Or, you know, maybe some people have come together, like I know that you guys did this, where you guys had like a casting call for your show with other shows, right? There's like 2 shows that kind of collaborated on a casting call. And not sure if it was you guys, but there was like, that's also a common practice. Not you guys, but you guys did in-person auditions. But there are some people who have come together who have like, with multiple shows to be like, we have a similar theme, let's try and find people.
Yeah. Did you have a second question?
Yeah, can I drink water in here? Or
If
should I
you-
wait to go outside?
Yeah, if you don't mind, just, when we can. Yeah, thank you. All right.
I have a venue question, is that?
Sure, we are gonna talk venues a little bit later. Are you okay to hold on to it?
Sure.
Okay, just because we might answer it, and if we don't,
Sure.
please, make sure you ask it. Okay, yes.
Clive Kennedy is my name, and I wondered if I had a straw, could I drink water?
And your mask is on,
Could slip it just under?
do you have
I
a straw? I know.
I think I think what we're just trying to do is keep it as kosher as possible, especially since we're in February. We just came out of like a huge surge. If we can step outside for today, that'll be great. And we're hoping that by the time it comes to the festival time, that might look different. But as of right now, it's and I want you guys to know we're exhausted too. We also hate it.
Yeah, we thought in 2020 when we canceled, well, full disclosure, I was the one on staff who in 2021 were like, do we cancel this festival? No, there's no way it's gonna last this long. Like, we'll have June 2020, we're gonna be fine. Here we are, you know, like.
I remember we had a literal panel during like the first week of March, and it was just the scariest panel I've ever done. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to do June, and then by the end of that week, I was like, oh no, we have to cancel.
Yeah. So, but I do feel as exhausting as it is, I am feeling good about the light at the end of the tunnel. I think things, as far as our regulations, they will only get easier. There's no way we can go stricter. We won't do that. So, like, we gotta get there and let the world get there, and then we will, you know.
And
All
then
right.
we'll try and have fun in the meantime and do what we can to be in
Yeah.
community with each other.
Yeah. All right. Should we keep going? Because remember, we're going to do more questions at the end. Let's do it. Upcoming workshops, town halls, and events. Yay! Things are back. Like, this is easily our busiest event schedule we've ever had. Don't know how we're gonna make the, like, we definitely like planned this all out. We're like, oh no, okay, we got this. So it's gonna be a busy season. So no, I'm just gonna go through the list, but no, with this list, all events are listed on our news tab, which, fun story for those of you who've been around a while, it was the blog. It is now, I don't know why I went into a weird accent. It was the blog, I don't know. It's now called news because that is very descriptive, especially for new people to Fringe, what that is. It's gonna be all current news. So basically, if we have an important newsletter that goes out or important information that you're gonna wanna refer back to often, that'll be in news. And so that's where our events schedule lives.
With a handy dandy Google Calendar so that you can
Yes.
set alerts this year. There will be a reminder the day before and an hour before each event.
Yeah. So I know we need it too. So know that now you can just download it up. You're set. So town halls are going to be hybrid, just like this event. So our next town hall is going to be like this. It's going to be live streamed as well as in person, and that is when staff just talks at you for a really long time. The other events, we have our workshops and panels. These are going to remain on Zoom and Facebook Live. Full disclosure, I believe in just sharing information. They work. We found that more people attended our panels when they were in Zoom. So why take education away from people if they're more likely to come in this way? If that changes, we'll address that in a future festival, absolutely. But for now, they are in Zoom and Facebook Live. This is where you hear from experienced Fringers and Fringe Award winners. So a staff member will moderate, but the people who are sharing knowledge are going to be the people who have proven success in the areas that we're having these panels around. So those are super important to just really get the tricks and the tips from the veterans. Those are recorded as well. I'll mention it again, but Fringe TV, it's a deep dive, and we have 12 years of workshops, panels, and town halls, as well as like party videos, like fun, like Fringe TV is filled with fun stuff and educational stuff. If you're new to Fringe, it's a fantastic resource. Use it as a podcast, that's my best tip. Hit play on a workshop and then move about your day, getting, cooking dinner, whatever you're doing, and just listen to the information. It's a great way to really immerse yourself in Fringe. Okay, so I'm just gonna read down the line. We have budgeting and fundraising. That workshop is coming up on Sunday, February 13th from 12 to 2 p.m. Remember, workshop, Zoom, and Facebook Live. Then on Wednesday, February 16th from 7 to 10 p.m., we have our last off-season office hours. That's a mouthful. These are the events we have in that pre-season before like our official office hours kick off. That way, you have a chance to kind of dip your toe into the Fringe community and ask questions earlier on than you would during an actual office hours series. So that is at the, oh yes, of course, Sunday, nope, just kidding, February 16th. That's a Wednesday from 7 to 10 p.m. Thank you. And that's at the Broadwater Plunge. We'll also have $1 off drinks for anyone there with Fringe. We'll have a name tag for you, and you'll get $1 off all your drinks that evening. Okay. Accessibility at Fringe workshop is going to be Thursday, February 24th from 7 to 9 p.m. I'm going to try to talk slowly. Then we have the marketing and ticketing workshop. That's on Sunday, March 13th from 12 to 2 p.m. So we're going to talk a little bit about ticketing and marketing today, but mostly that's going to be the workshop you'll want to attend to hear all about that. And then we have Immersive at Fringe. This is going to be a good one for you. On Saturday, March 26th from 12 to 2 p.m. I am dyslexic. If I get any of these dates or times wrong, let me know. All right, perfect. All right. Then we have How to Tech Your Fringe Show. That workshop is going to be Tuesday, April 5th from 7 to 9 p.m. It seems insane even in my brain to start talking about tech, but we have a ways, don't worry, but that'll be really, really helpful to prepare you for Fringe. Then we have our next town hall. That's going to be all about prepping for Fringe, right before things really get crazy. That's going to be on Sunday, April 16th. Saturday, April 16th from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Hudson Theaters. So that one's going to be live streamed and in person. And then our final workshop is Festival Expectations, Sunday, May 8th from 12 to 2 p.m. Okay, that is our workshops and town halls list, yay. And then office hours is back, officially in person, for real. We're going full with office hours all over again. For those of you who don't know, office hours is once a week on Wednesdays, starting March 30th, and that will run every week until June 1st. So right before the festival previews kick off. Every Wednesday, you'll meet us at a different bar in Hollywood. We'll have some that are outdoor. That way you have options depending on your comfort level. Some will be outdoors. St. Felix is one of the bars particularly that seats 450 outdoors, so they have a huge outdoor space, and we'll be there 3 to 4 times during that schedule. So we have options for every comfort level. And we'll also have 3 additional digital workshops. So for those
Digital office hours.
Yep, that's what I meant. Thank you. Digital office hours. For those that are either coming from out of town who are not here during that preseason, or to make sure every COVID level of comfort is, has some options.
Before we move on from office hours, I also want to say that we will be announcing, but you guys are here and online, so you get to hear this now. And we're going to be announcing, we're having a giant office hours kickoff party that's also going to be a fundraiser to bring back the Fringe full swing, because we lost a lot of money during the pandemic. And we want to be honest and say that we need to make up some of that, so we're having a really raucous party where we're gonna party like it's 2019. We're gonna have we're gonna be in a bar. It'll be announced in 2 weeks. We'll sell tickets, try and dance together, have live band karaoke, other fun performances, which is also what we're talking about, performance regulation, so that we can follow that in March. And have a safe, really fun party.
Yes.
What is that?
March 23rd, it's a Wednesday. It'll be our office hours kickoff, so it'll be the week before office hours starts. It'll be like a giant Wednesday night party. Which is, yeah.
Bring it back to the old Fringe model of just like the celebration is so much, like it's such a celebratory thing, Fringe. We're celebrating arts and artists, and we're gonna kind of go back to that this year where we can. And location and details coming up 2 weeks. 2
Yeah,
weeks.
less than 2 weeks, like
Yeah.
a week.
So, yee. But so we do have these digital office hours. They're going to be like speed networking. We have done one already this year, and that's a great chance for people out of town, or if you're uncomfortable or just don't want to fight Hollywood traffic, completely fine. All good reasons. Those are going to be April 7th, April 28th, and May 19th from 7 to 9 p.m. And again, all of this will be listed on the blog. I just know sometimes I'm someone who likes to hear it and write it down, and then I'm set. So yeah, more opportunities than ever before, y'all. Okay, I have one more list of dates, and then I promise I'm done with dates. And I know that's gonna be a lot more fun to talk about. I feel like I'm the beginning of the Bible, you know, where we're just like going through. Okay, so important festival dates and deadlines. April 1st, participant registration opened. Check! That's already done. We're getting, I had a lot of coffee today. So we're there. February 14th, the scholarship applications close. Ellen, do you want to talk about the scholarship program since that is your program?
Absolutely. So our scholarship program is available to first-time Hollywood Fringe producers who contribute to the ethnic, racial, cultural, LGBTQ+, disabled or deaf communities of the Fringe. And we award a free registration as well as a $550 stipend towards production costs. And a Fringe mentor to kind of help guide the first-time producer through the Fringe process, because it's a little crazy. We award 15 awards each year. Some of our 2020 winners are also rolling into this year as well, so it'll be a big cohort of people who support each other and get to produce at the Fringe. It's a great program. You can find out more details at hollywoodfringe.org/scholarships. And we also have a panel that we did in the December with the people who make the decisions about that program. It's completely curated by an outside committee of past participants and past scholarship winners that kind of dictate who gets those awards. And so they explain what they're looking for in that video.
Yeah, next deadline, April 1st. That's going to be your registration deadline if you want to be included in the printed guide. The printed guide is also back this year. Last year we did not have a printed guide because we didn't know what our festival would look like in time to print one. So
Sure.
that is officially back this year. You can absolutely register after that date. We'll accept registrations all the way until the festival closes. You just will not be included in the printed guide because we have no way of making that happen after it goes to print. So the dates right now, so February 1st through April 1st. Think about, it's 2 months of registration. At any point during this time, you can register and not miss out on a single thing. After that registration, so that's right, your listing is locked. After that, on April 10th, that's when our guide ad deadline is. So if you want an ad in the guide, and that's excited back as well, because that's another great opportunity to get eyes on your production. We're gonna print 10,000 guides this year, and they're just going to be dispersed all through Los Angeles. We're also updating some things about our guide this year. In the past, if you've participated, it's been a small, rather heavy booklet. This year we're going more magazine, so it's also more recyclable, and it's gonna be larger and easier to keep in your bag and walk around the festival with. But it will be color, so all ads will have different sizes, all available to you on the site. But that April 10th, that's when all ads must be finalized for that guide. On April 18th, that's when we're going to release our safety guidelines for audience. So with the next deadline, May 1st, when tickets go on sale, we have all of that information out to participants. That way you have all of the clear language to tell your audience members, and we'll make sure the site, if you've already seen the pop-ups on the website, we will have those updated with audience safety at that point. So there's not a single person who could go through the Hollywood Fringe site and not know about our guidelines. But if you decide to, have anyone that doesn't go through the site, if you were giving away comps to family, if you were selling on a third-party site a certain amount of your tickets, it would be up to you to make sure our audience knows. So no, you'll have 2 weeks before tickets start going on sale, and we'll make sure. Last year we did it. We sent easy guidelines. That way every participant could just copy and paste it into their language. We'll make it really easy for you. So then the next big day, June 2nd through the 7th, are previews. We're officially in festival according to this timeline. And then June 8th, and here's something that's really exciting. Matt, Quinn, you're gonna wanna get in here for this. No, all right. So on June 8th, opening night party. That is a day we are not going to have any shows. So you cannot book your show in a venue space that is a part of Hollywood Fringe on that day, because that day we celebrate. We celebrate what we've done and what we're going to do, and we get to be together in community to celebrate art. The big exciting news is we are back at the LGBT Center for our opening night party. It's not going to be digital. We're going to be back in person with an amazing, or as Ellen would say, a ruckus event. This is one of our biggest events of the season. We've been doing this for years with them. It's outdoor, so it's going to be super safe in the best possible way. Music, dancing, an awesome
Speeches.
time. Yeah.
A bar,
Yeah, the whole
food
nine.
trucks,
Yeah.
fun time.
Yeah, lots of fun. And then from the 9th through the 26th, hopefully you know these dates very well by now, that is the official 2022 Hollywood Fringe Festival. And following that, on June 26th, another exciting announcement, the awards and closing night party, which I can officially say will also be at the LGBT Center this year. In the past, we've done the Montalban. That is an all-indoor space. This year, we wanted to move our event space, and the LGBT Center is absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful space, and we get to have our events outdoors, so we can all attend and feel safe and being together in community. So very excited about that. There'll be more information coming out soon about those parties, but no, we're back. We're back to the big parties that Fringe has always done. All right, questions? Any questions about events? Yes.
What was it that you said was on the 2nd?
The second is, that's when the previews start.
Okay, so that's previews, and then the 8th is the kickoff party,
Party.
and the 9th is like official.
Official, yeah, that can get confusing. We'll talk more about previews as we go through these, like all these different workshops and town halls. But previews, for anyone new, it's a really, and not every festival does this. This is something that we've really honed in on. But it's important so that you can, sometimes it'll be the first time you get your show out on stage. For other shows, it'll be the first time you get audience and you're able to start pulling reviews, because reviews help sell shows. You'll be able to invite press. Press reviews help sell shows. So previews are all about refining the pieces of reproduction, getting butts in seats, and getting butts to go talk about what your show is like and how great it is. Butts don't talk, but you know what I'm saying.
And those would be, the previews would be at whatever theater you'd be performing at.
Yeah. So
okay.
you'll book those with your venue as well. So the venue is like, you're going to decide on what dates you have arranged with your venue. They will schedule it out. You'll have the contract with them. Okay, I know I have preview performances, and they're not required. You do not have to do a preview performance.
Highly recommended.
Highly recommended though. And also that'll be the time where you realize, shoot, all of my cues were actually mixed up and that needs to get fixed. So it's always a good idea.
I also recommend really blocking off all of June to be a part of the community, starting with previews, because those comp swaps where you get to go review each other's shows and then you have those reviews on your page matter.
Yes.
Being able to be a part of the community and do that for other people so that they'll do it for you, it's an important exchange, and it's part of the ethos. So it really is a part of the timeline. It's just a little bit of a preview time where things might not be 100% yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what was I gonna ask you? How many shows a night are in competition with each other, so to speak?
It depends. And no, like right now, like last year we had a smaller festival. On an average, pre-COVID, before we lived in a pandemic world, we'd had approximately 400 shows.
With about 2,000 performances.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
So it can range, but then, just like theater, there's days that are less. And here's the fun thing, as you're scheduling with your venues, know that there's no such thing as a dark day during the festival, because it is summer camp for theater. So people are I live in Hollywood, thank good God, but I am on site in Hollywood for 15 hours a day fringing, and people are doing that. So there's no such thing as, I saw my show tonight, I'm going home. People are seeing, maybe 2, but maybe 10 shows on a Saturday.
I will typically see about 5 on a weekend day. I'll typically see 5 in one day. So I think that knowing that people stack their shows, which is why we're gonna be hitting you over the head with this.
Yeah.
You have to be on time. There's people see show after show after show after show.
Yeah.
It's not a one-off run of your show. You're not doing 20 performances. You're doing maybe 3 to 5 to 6. Those are the averages. And then you're also seeing other people's shows throughout that.
Yeah. But it's always smart to like just think about it, like maybe book a couple, because we all know Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like we know what is popular theater times. Make sure you at least get one or two in there that are not so popular, because those are going to be easier to sell at the end of the day. Because now on a Tuesday night, you're not competing with, you know, maybe 20 other shows in that time slot. You're competing with one, or maybe you're the only one at, you know, Tuesday at 6.
How
or-
many shows I've seen at 11 a.m. on a Saturday?
Yeah.
Like, they actually matter. And a typical thing, you can't sell that, but to the Fringe audience, you can.
Yeah, a midnight show. I love me a midnight show because the day's finally over, and it's like that's when I get to, okay, you know, enjoy some theater and remember how exciting the festival is when I'm bogged down by stress over like, you know, website data and like.
And also,
things
like, take
that.
into consideration what your show is, the topic, how heavy it is. Like, maybe if you're having like a big boozy drinking show, you might not want to have that at 11 a.m. But if your show is more like cerebral or like more like human connection, maybe that might be a good time, you know?
Yeah, but just know that most theater rules go out the window at Fringe. All the things you've been taught, walk away from most of them. You know. You had a question?
Yeah,
Yes.
can you talk about the reviews during the preview week? Are we talking about patrons reviewing the shows that they just saw? Is that what
Yeah,
or are
and
you talking about press?
Both. So, and we'll go into this in way more detail a little bit later today, but also we'll have a whole workshop dedicated, like press and reviews. But just to kind of give you like a general, we'll have, so the website is set up for certified reviews. So that's people who, the website for certified reviews, those are people that we can confirm on our end have seen a show. They've purchased a ticket and they showed up to that show. And that's just to make sure that you're not getting spammed with nonsense reviews. And for anyone reading it, they know this came from a person who saw the show, not someone's mom or someone's best friend. While those can also be posted, we specify with a certified review. That way anyone reading your reviews and interested in seeing your show knows that that was written by someone who did in fact see the show. We also have press reviews. And we work, so you're going to be responsible for producing your show, just like we've been talking about. But we do a lot of the prep work as well. We will bring in press. We register press with the festival. That way they have easy access to the shows under the festival umbrella. So we'll have press that are reaching out to you, and that's all set up in the site. And we'll talk more about it, I promise. But you will get that access to that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
People who can give reviews, could they be watching it on the internet?
I'm sorry?
Okay. They can watch it on the internet and you get a review from it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, because we still have, we can see, I mean, we have, like, oh, they had an online ticket, they absolutely saw it, yes, absolutely. Yes.
When would we potentially be hearing back about scholarships?
Oh, so the deadline got extended to the 14th or 15th. So I would say by March 1st is when we'll probably be putting that information out there. March 1st sounds like a good day. I'm trying to make it a quick turnaround. So our committee splits up the applications, they review them, then we come together. They have a bunch of arguments over cheese, and then
She's not kidding.
I'm not kidding. They have a
I
bunch
sat
of
in on
arguments
those.
over cheese, and then I get back to people the next day after that, just so that people can get that. That being said, we do have always 5 runner-ups because people drop out. As soon as they get the award, they go, oh, I wasn't actually planning on doing this, I just applied. So we do 5 runner-ups, and 90% of the time, all 5 of them end up getting the award. And it also is a great thing if you're like, I'm a runner-up, or we call it like an honorable mention, which is just an award that you can start the festival with, you know? So we have that as well.
Any online questions?
None online.
Fantastic. Okay, now we have a big section, so another deep breath, everyone. It's gonna be a lot of talking, but again, the good news is this is all very detailed in the site as well. But we do these because we know it's important to talk it through, because we have brains that work in different ways. So registering. Let's talk registration. There are 3 requirements. 1, an online project. Who has already created their online project? Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. If you haven't, absolutely no worries. There's still plenty of time. So the first thing you do is you're going to do an online project. Second, you're going to book a venue. Third, you're going to pay registration. The pay registration and booked venue can happen in any order that you choose as long as they both happen. So we're going to talk through these 3 requirements to be a part of the festival in detail right now. So create a project. A lot of you have already done this. I'm going to go through it for those who haven't, and also so that you know how to function with your project page now. So it's all very self-explanatory on the website. I promise. I have personally done, you'll see, actually, I don't think I deleted the last couple. Test show number 1, test show number 2, test show number 3.
From LNev.
Yeah, LNev, that is my tester production company. I think it's Lolo Live. So if you see any, oh God,
Love it.
please don't let any of them end up in the guide. So yes, Lolo Live is my test thing, but it's all very self-explanatory. This is going to be where you decide basically where your show fits best in the category. Category is something I want to bring up. Everything else, it's a short description, a long description, show title, production company. But the category does stump people, and I understand why. So the category is how you want your show to be marketed and how you want to be considered for awards. Those are the two things that matter with category. Will your show possibly fit into multiple categories? Absolutely, most do. Say you are a solo show that is a musical but is also very funny. So you could potentially fit into solo show, comedy, or musical and operas. It depends what journey you want. So what path of Fringe do you want to take? And I think the biggest consideration, so definitely category, right? How it's going to be listed under the website and under the printed guide and the Fringe app. Oh, I haven't even mentioned the Fringe app yet. That's back, mobile app. But so that's that category, but also awards. And so think about who you want to, I mean, I hate to say it, but like compete with for awards with. That's kind of, so how, if you're looking at, if you want to win best comedy or musical, or best comedy, you're going to want to make sure you're under comedy. If you want to win best musical, you're going to want to make sure you're under musicals and operas. So those are the two things to consider. No, you can change this up until April 1st. That is when things are locked. So think about categories, marketing and awards. Those are the two things to think about. Okay, registration workflow. So you've created your project that is completely changeable, right? So that you've created a sense. A lot of them, and it's totally okay to be like, I'm still working on it. That's great. The registration flow, there's going to be a little wizard that walks you through it. And I told that Ben had that in from like 10 years and I'm still using it because it's essentially what it feels like. You're going to get little helpful hints throughout the entire registration process. And that's the wizard. But the important, like the couple steps are tag your show. Also changeable later, so remember that. That's how people are going to search for your show, just like in social media. Hashtags.
You said tag your show.
Tag your show, yes. Sorry, I'm starting to get parched, so my mouth is starting to move less. So these are, so like social media hashtags. You can use hashtag queer, hashtag comedy, hashtag fun. My personal favorite that I found on the list while testing under Lolo Live was hashtag apocalypse. So that's a popular one, not just one that, so not just one that somebody has used, because those are the popular ones that we see over and over again, but you can absolutely make up your own. In fact, I encourage you to do so. It's fun. Or you can all choose hashtag apocalypse, and it's going to be a very confusing search.
I love that, but like the fact that you said apocalypse and I knew what show it was, that's also what's so cool, is like branding yourself is so important, and thinking about what your brand is going to be through these tags could be a good exercise.
Yeah, absolutely, and it'll play into your marketing when you're trying to figure out who your audience is, that sort of thing. But we'll talk more about that later. I'm doing duck hand again. This is something that always comes into play as I start to talk more. So we're in for duck. Okay.
Not till we get to duck face, will we know where Lois is at.
It's not normal duck face though. We'll have to show that later. But okay, so we've tagged your show, and again, you can add tags later. You can change them later as long as they're in by April 1st. Then you're going to answer some very basic questions. It's not hard. You're going to answer questions that either have to do with your venue, so information that venues are going to need, like what your tech requirements are going to be, what your schedule is going to look like in June, so that they have that information to start to plan out your Fringe journey with them. There are also going to be questions for us. The more personal questions are for us for grant and annual report. We will never use that information in a singular fashion. It'll be percentages, but that's how we get our grants and how we report back to the grants that we've received. And
report back to you. We've started to be financially transparent so that you know where our money is going. Because we're a platform for artists, we want to show that 100% of ticket sales go back to artists. We don't take a dollar from that other than, the fees that we do $2 fee per ticket, which just covers the cost that it takes to run your credit card.
But that's not coming out of your ticket sales, that is coming out of the purchaser. So it's just like any credit card you use, there's a purchase fee. That is not on the artist. You get the full ticket price. It's like the $1 or $2 on top of your ticket price. And totally separate things. Yeah, but it does get confusing. So know that is the person paying for the ticket pays for that, not the artist.
But if you want to look at any of these demographics, there's hollywoodfringe.org/annual report, and you can also look at like trends that way as well. You can see like what categories were popular, what are these things. That's like a way to look into research. So we have that from 2019 and 2021, and we'll have that again from now on for all the feature festivals.
Yeah, and you can
Exciting stuff.
and you can see for sure that we are not purchasing yachts with our fringe salary.
And we are losing money. Great time to be alive.
Heyo, this isn't anything now too.
If you're a donor, hi. Help us.
That was not a good face. That's a scary face. After that, you apply for venues. You can do this directly on the site. If you started to do this, you can probably see that. You can apply to every venue. But we also encourage you to kind of look through the venues. Don't just blindly apply. That's not going to do you any favors later. It's like going for an Easter egg hunt, not knowing what you're looking for. So make sure you kind of have an idea of these venues. Also, don't rely on the fact that you are submitting your venue application as you're done. That does not mean you're done. You can, the venue's information is available on the site, their email, their phone number. Make sure you're building that relationship from the beginning. That way you don't submit, walk away, and then realize in May that you do not have a venue. Because by that April 1st deadline, you will need to have a venue so that you have a performance address to be listed in the guide, yeah? Because registering for the festival without a venue is not going to be any fun. You won't actually get to participate in any fashion. You'll get to come to the parties and then never show your work off. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure to apply for venues. After that, you will sign a contract. That protects both you and the Fringe. And of course, there is a COVID liability waiver because that is the world we live in. But again, it's all very transparent. It's just to protect both parties involved. And after that, bada bing, bada boom, you register, the final step. And this is when you pay the money. So this is when you're going to want to double check your work, right? If you're tired, maybe take a breather. But registration types this year are a lot more simple than last year. So yay, we have paid multiple performances. That is going to be your most common. That is what most people do at Fringe. That registration cost is $30 or $300. Now it sounds awful. It's $300, but know that it's the most common and know it's what you're likely going to do. That means you're doing multiple performances during the 2.5-week festival.
Including live stream. So you can do as many performances as you want, and you're also you're setting a ticket price. That means you are collecting money for your tickets. So that is that first registration type. The next is a one-off show at $175. That means you are doing one show during the run. So one show, $175. Then there's the free show that you can do as many shows as you want, but you are not charging ticket prices. This is one of those ways we try to keep the festival accessible. So know if you are not charging ticket prices, you can absolutely do that $175 free show. And then there's workshops. These are educational series. One of the coolest things about the Fringe, in my opinion, is the knowledge share. The fact that every participant comes to the table ready to share. And that's not something I've personally found a lot in this world. I don't know about you, but it's hard to find people who are willing to share their successes and how they succeeded and the tips and tricks that they've gotten them as far as they have. And that is something that it's such a giving community. People love to share and want to help you. And so we've opened up these workshops so we can continue to knowledge share. If you are a participant already doing a show, you can register a workshop for free. You can register one workshop for free, and you can charge ticket prices, so you can get paid for your expertise. If you are not a registered participant, you can absolutely still do a workshop that's $50. You can also charge ticket fees. So that's a great program. If you have something, especially in theater, that you want to share, I highly recommend it. You'll get to do what we do right up here. That's about it. Okay, from there, you've paid your monies. You're registered. Happy dance. Glass of wine, beer, however you celebrate, you've registered for the festival. I'm going to remind you again, if you don't have a venue, you are not done, right? You paid the money to Fringe, but if you do not have a venue, you are not done. Also know, if it gives you any security and rest, I will personally reach out if you are registered for the festival and do not have a home. We have a list, we keep track. If it happened, I did it last year, so you will not know if you do not have a venue. But let's save all the trouble, right? Let's try to make sure we get our venues. And after that, know that it's a quick process. Registration is not super scary. And I know, in listing it out, maybe it seems like it's more. I did those tests under, Lolo Live did the test at midnight on registration day to make sure that everything was played out. It took me 20 minutes. So I'm gonna guess if you actually put in real information, 35 minutes tops. It's not a long process at all. So one sitting and you'll be done, but you can also start it and come back and finish it later. Yeah? You can always edit the details about your show, the marketing later.
Absolutely. Yeah, in fact, I recommend it. Get to know that space and start to continue to build it out. So what's included in registration? So if you paid that $30, oh my God, I can't believe. What's included in registration? I know. So a listing in the printed guide, right? And you're gonna have a way to check out your listing on the site as well. So in that project page, you're gonna get, we're gonna talk about that project page a lot. But you'll get the listing in the printed guide. You also get a listing on the Fringe website, which gets over 1 million hits during the Fringe period. You'll also get a listing in our mobile app, available for iPhone right now, but we're working on Android. I can't make any promises on the when, but iPhone for now. We have a mobile app. The participant packet is a huge selling point to the participants. It's basically your how-to and your discount guide. In about a month, March 1st is what we decided. We're gonna do our damnedest. So March 1st, we're gonna get that participant packet out. We're trying to do it earlier and earlier every year. And that's gonna be how to do everything at the Fringe. So all of the things that we've been telling you over the next month, all of the things you've learned, we're gonna put it on paper. The old one is available, so if you wanna look at last year's, most of that information is still very,
Half of it's
half of it's very valid.
Yeah.
But to get an idea what that would look like, /participant.
Yeah, hollywoodfringe.org/participants.
Plural, to get an idea. But that's gonna be, how to go through every step, how to not miss a beat at Fringe, and also discounts on videographers, on photographers, on media opportunities, so different marketing channels, and printing. I mean, discounts on anything that is going to add to your journey and adventure in Fringe, right? On top of that, ticket sales are included. The ticket sales through the website, through the mobile app, through Walk-Up. We'll have a concierge. More details on how our setup will look like at Fringe in the next couple months, but we will have an in-person concierge without a doubt, and also a phone. So we take care of the tickets on our end. Additionally, discounts on ads, both on the website and in the guide. You get deeply discounted rates. So do not buy an ad before you've registered. Yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out on our end, but it's almost half off, if not exactly half off. So make sure you register before you buy an ad in the guide or on the website. It's gonna be a lot cheaper for you. You get participant support, that email, support@hollywoodfringe.org. Support@hollywoodfringe.org, right? Dave, your new best Fringe pal. You have that as your lifeline throughout the entire journey at Fringe. You also get qualification for awards and extensions and different opportunities. Something that we're working on at Fringe is creating more opportunity awards at the festival. So it's not just an actual presentation on a title of your accolades, but it's also, last year we had Fringe Abroad, where one of our shows performed live stream to the Gothenburg Fringe in Sweden. And so we're looking at, there were several extensions included in awards as well.
And some of them were local. You got put up in a local theater for an extended run. There's plenty of programs, like there's the Encore program and the extension program at the Broadwater. Bob, I believe is what they call it. That's the Broadwater.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bunch of ways for that, and we're looking to make that bigger and bigger every year as we connect with orgs.
Absolutely. And then you get reviews in the press, and so it's going to be that opportunity. The Fringe provides really a stepping off point for your show. If you do want to do that standalone run, if you want to go to a theater and spend the whole month in one theater space, or if you want to go on tour, if you want to go to other Fringe festivals, getting reviews, getting press, getting all of these things, getting awards, all of this is going to help you take your show to the next level, and you can get all of that here at this festival. You also get these workshops, panels, all things to prepare you for your Fringe journey. Like we talk a lot about it being a producer's training ground. So you can come in as a pro and still have a great Fringe, but you can also come in having no idea how to produce. I'll be honest with you, I didn't have a clue how to produce before I started working with the Fringe. I started not in a production area, I started in a very different area of Fringe, but I learned how to produce because of these panels, because of these workshops. It will help you, and especially if you're new to LA, it'll help you learn how to produce here in LA. So all of it is a training ground. So from today until the opening day of Fringe, we're gonna walk you through how the hell to do this. So if you've never done this before, do not be scared, we got you. And then most importantly, it's fun, it's networking, it's opportunity, it's summer camp. It is summer camp for adult artists. If you're an artist and you're an adult and you just love to spend time with other people who like the same things you do, welcome. Welcome to summer camp. It starts now and then it goes crazy town in June.
And it feels real, it's so exciting to be here, full transparent moment. We've missed this. I've missed being in these spaces with you guys and being able to go and talk about this crazy show that you're doing and try and figure out all the little details that you want to do over a drink at one of our mixers. Like, I'm so excited to do that with you, and welcome. I'm excited to keep going.
It's a family. My favorite thing to say is welcome to the family. I hope that's what you wanted, because like you can certainly choose to say no thank you, not interested in being a part of the Fringe family, but know the welcome mat is there and the arms are open. Like, welcome to the family. We take care of each other. The Fringe provided me a home. I was lost in LA, and I was a theater artist who couldn't find other people who I felt at home with, and then I found Fringe, and suddenly I had people. So know that that's what we are, and we can be that.
And I wasn't even in theater before I started doing Fringe. Like, I got involved from a different, I was a musician, went to music school, I was working in the classical music industry, then I found this thing through a job posting, and now I'm very addicted to LA theater. So it's really like a space where you can come from any experience level and anything and get involved deeply.
Yeah, come as you are. Because there's room for everyone, absolutely. Let's talk venue, because I know we have questions about booking the venue, and we have some wonderful venues here today. If you want to raise your hands, give a wave. Actually, please, let's keep it short because we don't have a lot of time, but we'll just go around. Introduce yourself to everyone here.
Yeah, hi, my name is Matt Chait, and I am running the complex this year. I actually started the complex many years ago. I retired 4 years ago, and then my replacement retired suddenly to my shop about 2 weeks ago. So they thawed me out. I was in a cryonic situation. So I got thawed out, and I was still moving. So they got me back, and I'm back in the world, and I'm running the complex. I have been involved in some of the earlier Fringes, and the complex has, we will have 4 venues registered, and we're in the heart of the whole thing on Santa Monica Boulevard. In fact, there's a plaque on our lamppost right in the corner. It's really the heart of Theater Row, and talking about community and the cross-pollination and everything, that happens very, very much at the complex because there's 4 different venues going on, and it's a very exciting time. And even not participating, just driving by the complex and seeing the crowds outside and the excitement has been very exciting to me. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm not doing this by myself. It's not like one alta caca. I have a couple of wonderful staff members. One of them was with me, but turned out he couldn't come in because he hadn't gotten his booster yet. Anyway, so that's the complex. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Matthew Quinn. I'm here with Theater Asylum. We've been running venues and producing every year at Fringe, coming with a lot of experience, and we love all types of shows. To make it simple, I've got all my information up, a venue packet with prices and all that at our website, www.theaterasylum.com, and theater is spelled with an E-R. And I thought we were moving past the theater discussion. I'm sure there was a memo somewhere about that. Really looking forward to this Fringe with Lois and Ellen leading. And welcome to tour, book. I have a class on how to produce if you want some more in-depth work. But welcome, everyone. And if you're here now, want to come, I know most of you, I'm happy to talk as well after.
Thank you.
I'm Amber Brugel. I run the Zephyr Theater, which we're having the event in right now. I have pamphlets outside for our Fringe Festival and rates and everything, and I'm happy to do tours afterwards. If you're listening in from online, you can check me out on the venue page, send me an email, and I do tours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Our packet information is on our Fringe venue page as well. And we'll take anyone. We're booking per show. So really I'm flexible to each show and however you'd like to use our space.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting us today.
Of course.
We have a venue question through the chat, so I just wanted to bring that up now since we're talking about venues. But they were asking about well, there's a couple questions, but this one is specifically about venues. It's about payments to venues. So it's like, do we have to pay all at once, or are there payment plans? And my response was, it's different per venue. Every venue is different. A lot do payment plans, but most will make sure that you have to get paid before you have that tech. That first step.
So we split payments into 3.
Yeah.
So, but almost every venue, or I'm pretty confident saying every venue will require full payment by your first performance.
Yeah.
But every venue is gonna have a different payment plan or however they do it, but
Yeah.
expect full payment before your first performance.
Just wanted to make sure I was saying that right, because I've never booked a venue.
Very good point. All right, so we deadlines for everything. All right, I'm gonna speed through this. So booking your venue. Thank you so much for sharing wonderful venues. The boundaries, what are the boundaries of the festival? All right, LA is a huge city, so we do try to keep the Hollywood Fringe semi-compact. I mean, compact is strong. You still can't, like, you could scooter around, but it would be exhausting. So the boundaries are Franklin, Normandy, Rosewood, and Gardner. You can find that information at hollywoodfringe.org in the Subportal. Where is
Support.
Fringe?
Yeah, support.hollywoodfringe.
Support.hollywoodfringe.org, yeah. Where is Fringe? But those are the basic boundaries. I wish this is where you need a whiteboard so you could kind of map. But you can apply through the site, right? We've been talking about you can apply to venues directly through the site. hollywoodfringe.org/venues. That is the home base for all things venues. There's information about each venue. The contact information for each venue is right there, and that's where you can also apply. You're gonna need to close a deal. So, right, you apply, you follow up. Apply, follow up, close a deal. Those are important pieces all through the site, and it needs to happen through the site. And venues are also great about saying, like, oh, okay, I've sent you the proposal. You need to make sure it's, back to me. That way, like, we're all checking in to make sure deals are closed. But you want to do that through the site. That way, the site can confirm that you have a relationship with this venue and these are your performances. That's how they're able to schedule your performances, that sort of thing. I'm going to get to the list really quick, and then I'll absolutely take your question. Okay, so follow up, build that relationship with your venue, close the deal. Consider price as you're booking your venue. So price, location, the venue specifics that your show is looking for, the services they offer. Every venue is going to offer things that are slightly different. Considering live stream versus, like, oh, I'm not worried about live stream, so I don't need a venue that does in-house live stream. Or I have my own, so I'm going to want a venue that doesn't have live stream, but I know, there's a perfect place in the house for that live stream person to sit. Considering those sorts of things, as well as times available. Venues will schedule in different fashions. Some of them will have prepackaged schedules. Others will kind of help you choose your own adventure. So all things to consider, but always stay in budget. It's good to not bite off more than you can chew, especially if you're a new fringer. Unless you have a huge audience already built in your network, then you do you, but also consider that, it's better to sell out than to have empty chairs. So, consider that, and especially consider that when booking a venue, is can you fill these seats? The Fringe is gonna help you market, but we cannot fill each and every house for hundreds of shows. We can't do it. So there's gonna be the personal investment of each producer to do that on their own. And so consider that when booking your venues as well. You can bring your own venue. I'm just going to open up this whole can of worms. But you can absolutely bring your own venue to Fringe. It does have to be in the zone, right? Those boundaries that we talked about. You do have to be able to provide insurance to do that venue, and you are also going to need permitting if it's a place, in fact, where, like a park or a sidewalk where you're going to need permitting. We have seen it all. We have seen Annie Lesser did a show in her apartment because it was in the zone. She got proper insurance. She got all the legalities sorted out, and she performed the Fringe from her apartment. More than once. It was very successful. We've had a show in a van, an actual van.
Parks.
Parks on city sidewalks. There have been shows that started in the zone that then drove outside of the zone, but they start in the zone. So
And end.
Hollywood Fringe, yeah.
As long as you start and end.
Start and end in the zone, then you can do what you want. Yeah, Hollywood Boulevard was a location. A school was a location for a show. So as long as you do it right, it is fair game at the Hollywood Fringe. The restaurants, bars, churches, schools, whatever, like if you build that relationship with that location and come to it correct, you can absolutely have that venue. I recommend emailing support@hollywoodfringe.org if you have a venue in mind, if you have a plan start contacting support so they can walk you through, so that Dave can walk you through the steps necessary to make sure everything is covered on that. All right, project page, I am almost done, then we'll take questions, I promise. Let me see, yeah, we're almost done. So your project page, we've talked about all the steps to registering. Let's go back to that project page, that first step of the registration in Fringe. Now that you have your show all ready to go, now what do you do with this page? There's so much. It's a hub for marketing. It's your hub for ticketing. This is going to be your, think of it as your Instagram, your Facebook. This is your new home, right? This is where you can post pictures, where you can post videos, trailers, and do so. This is all going to help you market your show. People are visual. We live in a world of Netflix and Hulu. People now want to see a trailer before they're willing to commit. So use that and make sure, like, we have that in the site for that reason, so that you can show off your work. This is where all of the things that we've been talking about can be updated and changed and modified. So like we said, show category, tagging of your project, the long and short descriptions, right? And it's blatantly in there as well. The short description is what ends up in the guide, the printed guide. The long description is what goes on the site. But up until that April 1st deadline, you can continue to play with language there. So April 1st.
And you can keep playing with language on the ticketing site, right? The longer
Absolutely.
description after
Yeah.
April 1st. But that little tiny tidbit where you have your elevator pitch of your show,
Yeah.
that needs to be locked in by April 1st.
Yeah.
We'll have questions. for
Yeah,
just
we're
a
so
second.
close, we're so close, yeah. That's where you'll also post your press releases. So you'll have a place to post your press release. That way when press signs up with Hollywood Fringe, and at this point so many press members know about Hollywood Fringe, they just come to the site. They know how to navigate the site, they know how to look for your press releases, so that'll be where you put that as well. That is where you will collect reviews. That way when people review your show, they will all show up within your project page. We'll talk about this more, but you have the option if you're in a workshop position and you don't want, like, you know, I want to mount my show, and I'm not ready for feedback. My artistic vision is not ready for feedback. That is fine. We have an option on the site for you to say, no, thank you. I'm not interested in getting, you know, reviews and having public reviews of my show. Totally an option. We'll talk more about that at a future workshop. That is where your guide proof will be available. So you'll get to see prior to that April 1st deadline what your show is going to look like in the guide, which is exciting. And then when tickets go on sale, and again, we're going to have a huge workshop all about ticketing and how it works for participants, but when tickets go on sale, this will be where you have control over everything. I personally think one of the coolest things about our site, so like Ben Hill, one of our co-founders, and Dave works on it too, they built a website that is designed for the festival. So we're not trying to adapt a website and it's working for what we want it to do. The website is adapted to fit our model. And so with that, you have full control over your experience as far as tickets. You know how many you've sold, so you know which shows you maybe need to, you know, do more outreach for. You're going to have complete control over that data and be able to change things as you go. As far as, you know, I'm going to do discount codes. I want to get my friends in, so I'm going to do discount codes. So know when it comes time to talk ticketing, you have so much control over your Fringe experience in that fashion. And like I said, one of the things I think is the coolest about this festival. So get to know that page. If you walk away from today, that's one thing. Get to know that page. Get comfy in it. Start to learn it. You can't screw anything up at this point. So start to play around and see, you know, what everything does, because you can't screw it up. Trust me, I would have. If it was possible, I would have. It's not possible. So play around and get to know it a little bit. The last thing I'm going to mention before questions, so internationals. If you're joining us, which you so can be because we're live streaming, we have options for you this year. You can absolutely participate. We do, like, you can certainly come to Los Angeles, and we have information on the Subportal page. It's called Internationals. It's a whole tab that will walk you through like work visas or the different opportunities to come in person. But we also have an opportunity where you can live stream onto a screen in a Hollywood Fringe venue. This is kind of like our light switch from last year's live stream. So you can absolutely partner with a venue here in the Hollywood Fringe zone that would stream your show to a live audience. So you would be simultaneously performing your show wherever you are in the world. I don't know. This is my show. Little live. Here we go. Wherever you are in the world, and come directly to Hollywood in that fashion. There's also a list of venues that are capable of doing this, that are interested in partnering with international and national people that are just not able to travel to Los Angeles. So know that is an option for you. I'm looking at the camera. I really can't see with the lights, so I might just be looking in a very strange place. All right, that's that spiel. Questions? No, you had one.
Yeah, when you were saying about posting, can you post a video clip on your page on there, so you just directly upload like an
Yeah.
MP4 or whatever onto there. Cool.
Absolutely.
Are there like do you know if there are limits, like time limits for it? Not that I'm gonna post a long thing, but
There are some limits.
There
I
are.
think it's like a little sizzle reel under 30 seconds, that kind of stuff. I think like it'll tell you if it's too big. I don't know
Yeah.
off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I haven't heard a lot of complaints about it, so I'm guessing. I mean, no one's gonna watch something that's 4 hours on there. So, but I don't think there's
There's
a ton of
a
limitations.
size limit,
Yeah.
but I don't know what that
Okay.
translates into length.
Yeah, stumped us.
and then it doesn't like embed as far as you know, like from YouTube. It would have to be like directly.
Yeah, you upload it directly.
Yeah.
But you can also embed the link, like you can use HTML on your site, right?
Totally.
So like the project page uses HTML. So if you're like, I want to bold this, you can put like bracket strong, end bracket strong, like MySpace style. Yeah.
It's also available on Google if you don't know HTML. That's me. I have to like learn it from like a.
And then like there's like little things you can be like href, like if you're looking that up, like you just Google like how to post a link in HTML and then copy and paste it into your project page and it'll work.
Great question. Yes.
I was wondering if you had any arrangement with theaters, had any arrangement with parking.
Funny story.
Funny story. No.
So I'm going to tell this because there's not as many funny stories
Yeah.
with all the serious content of COVID. So there was that. I don't know why I'm doing like suddenly I'm getting into it. Okay, so one year the Fringe did run a parking lot. Nobody came. It was this brilliant thing where we're like everyone's complaining about parking. We're going to fund. We purchased or rented a parking lot for the summer, and then nobody parked there. That was the last time the Fringe started a parking lot business. That said, though,
Hudson
has parking.
Assistance League has parking. Like certain venues have parking.
Actors Company.
A lot of them also have parking specifically for artists, or like they have like loading zones or these types of things that they're helping with. And I just have to be honest and say street parking's not that bad. You're gonna have to walk 2 blocks. But like, if that is accessible to you physically, I think it's okay. And then there's a lot of like accessible parking spots around as well.
I can also say we in the past have run, at our old theaters, the lounge theaters, we've run a parking lot as well, and audience members just don't come. You know, they're so used to, in LA, having to find parking or just Ubering or Lyft or taking a taxi somewhere, that they just manage well.
Yeah.
And we're off of the metro. You know, there's a lot of bus lines. Like, we are one of the most public transportation accessible areas of Los Angeles. There is the metro buses. There's the metro stops that'll take from downtown to the Red Line. You know, I think Uber, Lyft, these things are also extremely common, and a lot of the space is walkable. Most of our venues, so it's a long walk, some of them, but I've walked it. I used to live in East Hollywood. And I would walk all the way from East Hollywood down to some of the venues, like the Complex or other things like that.
Yeah,
So.
could I, yeah, and what you were saying before, that when there are a lot of fringe junkies
Yeah.
who spend the entire day going from one fringe venue to another, so they park their car someplace and they wander all around and then they go back to the car. So it's, you know what I mean, it's not like stopping for an hour and you find the space once and then much later on you find it again.
You stumble your way back, yeah. And remember, you're going to get to know each other as well. So like, it is absolutely carpools. Like I was telling you about the group that traveled together all last Fringe. You best believe they were carpooling. Like they would, all meet up, like maybe drive separately, but then go from venue to venue together. So there's that atmosphere as well.
Down Santa Monica, you're gonna have like meters or 2-hour parking spots, but everywhere else, it's not like West Hollywood where there's a lot of restrictions as to like, you can't park for a long time. Like there's some restricted areas, but then there's a lot of areas where you can park your car all day. It'll be, don't leave any valuables.
We'll also release safety guidelines, and not COVID related, but just general guidelines of like, hey, walk with a buddy, don't leave your laptop visible on your seat. Like just, we try to help.
And even the meters stop at 7.
Yeah.
But if anyone, by all means, support at HollywoodFringe.org. Let us know if you have any, we've always wanted to have a shuttle sponsored. So if anyone's watching, you're like, I have a shuttle service and I want to sponsor Fringe. Do the dance again for you. This is,
Oh
okay.
my God.
Okay, I'm done.
I,
You had a question?
Yeah, quick question. I know we can charge what we want, but are there sort of standards or averages that people charge for like the 30-minute or 60-minute or 90-minute play?
Yeah,
Well,
12
$12,
across the board is pretty average.
Okay.
And certainly with live stream, we're still collecting data on what that looks like. But we'll talk a lot about that in the ticketing workshop as well. And you're going to get from participants, like, because sometimes, musicals, there's a little more wiggle room. Where if you have a 2-hour musical, you don't. Your average price is going to go up a little bit.
Immersive
but
shows
immersive
that
shows
have
go
like
up, yeah.
one-on-one, they'll charge more
Yeah.
because they can't have as many tickets. It just really depends.
Yeah,
There's
they'll-
there's also, you can set it per performance.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Also, usually end ticket price is $12, so a lot of people will set it at 15 and give out discount codes.
And you can also set like your previews as cheaper if you want to like paper the house, have more people. You can, discount codes are huge. There's tons
Yeah.
of these options. And we're gonna have a whole panel about it.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of questions
Yeah.
from the chat.
Bring
The
it.
first one is about operating during a COVID surge. We know that there are our policy for postponed shows. So we'll work with your venue to reschedule your shows if that's possible within the dates,
Yep.
and to reschedule all of those tickets. The first thing that we're gonna do with that with your audience members is, first we'll communicate with you, see if that's possible. Try and book another show, which we did last year
Yeah.
a couple of times.
Yeah.
And if there's not a possibility to reschedule those tickets, we'll ask them first, consider donating this ticket to the artist,
Yeah.
trying to help things out if those people are not able to reschedule in your audience. So we'll work with you. Know that if there is a COVID case in your cast, we'll always make sure to work with you quickly to answer any questions that you may have, work with you with your venue to make sure that our site has things updated. You don't have to be the person emailing back and
No,
forth, but
that's us.
that's us. But then it's always nice if afterwards you send that nice thanks everyone for being so nice, and then they want to donate their ticket to you. You know?
And overall, people did. Like we said, it happened a couple times. The reason we were able to have an entire festival without COVID being transmitted on site was because artists were able to say, you know what, someone in my cast tested positive. They haven't been on site in 2 weeks, but we can't be on site tomorrow. So if you take it seriously, we're going to take it seriously right alongside you. And we have your back. We want you to get to keep the money you're counting on and get to perform if possible and change your show. And the few times that happened, I don't think we had a single audience member who didn't want to help out in one way. Either it was like, you know what, donate the money, or I'll come to the next show that's scheduled, or do you have I know they live streamed, is there any way I can just watch it later? Like so many people, audiences want to take care of artists.
The other question is that can you only submit performances that happen during the festival? Yes, during that 2.5 week period and our previews is the time that you can be doing that, but we also have extensions or these different programs that happen for a longer run. But it is meant to be this tight-knit festival of about the preview week and then 2.5 weeks about where we run shows.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Extensions, you'll hear more about that. We don't run the extension program, but it is a program that's been a part of the Fringe Festival through the venues for a long time. There were some years where extensions ran for months afterward. I was still seeing, getting into the holidays, and this is when I get to see a lot of shows. During the actual festival, I don't get to see as many. I'm in line, ready to go, and then I get a phone call and can't do it. So extensions are when I get to see shows. So those are a lot of fun. Okay, any last questions before we move on? Yes?
I have two. Can I sign a contract with a venue before hearing back about the scholarship?
Yes, absolutely. It's it comes as a PayPal or a check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But no, you would still be responsible for the contracted money, even if you did not get the scholarship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means I wouldn't have to have registered already?
So when we refund for people who get the scholarship, if you're already registered, we'll refund your registration and then give you the check for the stipend. And then if you're already, it would just be that money back.
Yeah.
If you're still planning to do Fringe regardless.
Cool. And then my second question is, do you know when tickets go on sale?
May
1st.
1st. Every year, May 1st.
Oh, unless last year, but
That
this
was-
year, May 1st, it will happen.
Last year, we don't talk about 2020. We're in 2021 anymore. Last year, we were like, oh, great, regulations. On the day our tickets were supposed to go out, they
So
were
funny story.
they were like, great, LA County has new regulations. And we were like, cool.
2 hours after we posted our COVID regulations. So out of respect for, honestly, for the artists selling tickets, we couldn't in good conscience open tickets as we figured out this new COVID guideline. But the world has changed since then, and even LA County, they are not releasing information. They're not smacking us with information without us
There's scheduled
planning for it.
information.
They're scheduled, yeah. So that will not happen again. May 1st, tickets will go on sale.
And again, why we're a little bit careful, you know,
Yeah.
we've been burned.
Yeah.
And we don't want that to ever happen to anyone again, where they're counting on something and their money is counting towards something, and then we have to slap in the face with a newer regulation. We want it to be the opposite, where
Yeah.
we can be like, hey, guess what, we can relax.
Good news, yeah. We want to take the hits. We want to keep you from having to take the hits.
Any
That's our
more
goal.
questions before we jump into budget? Yeah.
What's the average length of a show?
An hour.
60 minutes,
1
yeah.
hour, yeah.
55 preferably, so that people have that time,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, get back to the meat.
to get to the next show.
Fringers typically, like, the audience doesn't really like to go past 90 minutes, because the whole point is they wanna see, bang, 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 see a bunch of shows in a day, so if they're over 90 minutes, if they're closer to 75, it's better.
Also, you can consider this a preview of your show too. If your show's longer and you can cut it down to that
Yeah.
fringe length, it's a great test for those like key moments in your show that you could expand in extensions, or you could expand when you do your full run.
A
you
lot
know?
of shows do that. I think, yeah, like a lot of musicals especially, that seems to be, because musicals in general, I'm a musical theater artist, that is how that was my school name. And musicals tend to be like that solid 2 hours. I've seen so many amazing musicals at Fringe that were an
55
hour
minutes.
and 15 minutes maybe, and then they had their full run a few months later, as a full run. So looking at musicals in that way, I think is a really good thought. You can absolutely do the full run. We have that as well. We've had operas that are full-length operas at the Fringe, but just know you have options.
So, if you cut it down, you've already booked the time for the next couple of shows. You can use that to, I guess, unload the equipment or something, but is that how it works?
So every venue load in and load out is going to work super differently, because we have like some venues in the Fringe Zone that book 4 shows, so they don't have to stack load in load out quite the same as some of the other venues that have so many shows happening. So it just depends on your needs, and I think like the number one thing to think about right now is, what do you want out of this experience? What is like the most interesting to you? Find those venues that kind of like link up with that. What do you want your inside to look like? Is it in the round? Is it more of like that typical small box theater? What are you looking to do? And then build your regulations kind of around that. Because it's just gonna be different. Any other questions? Oh, go ahead.
Well, just how many slots, are there any vacant slots when this thing starts?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and we've seen it, and this is again something with your venue, but we've seen multiple like shows that sell out. I can think of like several shows off the top of my head that had they did their Fringe, they had maybe 5 shows scheduled for the festival or 3, and then they sold out within the first few days of ticket on sale. So they booked extra. It didn't end up in the guide, but also at that point you're not worried about advertising it in every single place because you're selling the F out, so you can, but that's gotta be with your venue, make sure they have the slots. Or I've seen shows venue hop as well, where their venue wasn't available, so they planned it with a different venue. Like, the beautiful thing about Fringe is there aren't rules. There are best practices, most of which will encourage you to break, but there's no rules as long as you can find an avenue available to you.
If you're worried about load in and load out time, I would absolutely book extra time.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. And then I would also encourage everybody to think smaller, because this
Yes.
is Fringe. Like,
Look at
this
ours.
couch is the most fancy that you need, to tell the story.
It's so cozy.
And I think that all venues will provide some of those types of things. Blocks, a lot of these things are
Yeah.
available at all venues. Chairs.
We didn't bring this from home.
No, Amber provided it for us, and we feel very cozy.
It's also a futon.
Should we talk about money?
Yes, good. I'll be
Yeah,
right
yeah,
back to use the
yeah.
restroom.
There was something you said about if it's running a little late, that you might get backed up about getting to the next show. Is it a sort of standard that the shows begin on the hour?
Yep. It is a standard across the board that shows start on time and end on time. I have walked out of shows because I had to get to the next one, because I have to see, as a part of the scholarship program, I see all of their shows, and I have to go to that next one. And if it's not the time that I can, things happen. Also, it just depends on the venue. Some venues will build in that extra time because they're like, I don't want to stress about the 15-minute load in, 15-minute load out. They might book in more time to cushion that, but about 15 minutes is the time that people will have typically. Is the shortest time that you would have.
But the show time, the show time itself is usually on the hour.
Yeah.
1 o'clock is 2 o'clock, as opposed to a 2:30 or 3:30.
There's some 2:30, 3:30s as well, yeah. I think it just depends on how your schedule is booking out, because for some people, like, it just really depends on how you're building out your schedule.
Right.
And I think that maybe we can talk on with the
Yeah, I
venues.
can talk- yeah, and also just all times, I mean, I think you see 12, 30, hour, half hour. With the way it also worked with streaming, I was seeing a lot of 15,
Yeah.
like 12, 15, but we
book
give an
every
extra
15 minutes.
15 minutes, so
we'll
it can
do it
vary.
At 12, we'll do it 12:15, we'll do it 12:30, we'll do it
Yeah.
12:45. For us, it depends on the length of the show.
And as we set them one next to each other, how all the different times work out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go quick. All right, I'm gonna go through budget super quickly because we have a workshop in 2 weeks where we're gonna actually be able to hear best practices from actual producers who have actually produced the Fringe show, which the only shows we produce are these things. So let's chat money. How much does it cost? We already talked about registration, venue rental, production fees. Don't forget to budget in those production fees, the marketing fees. Your marketing is gonna be probably your biggest budget outside of registration and venue. In our budgeting panel, we're also gonna talk about that lovely AB5 that some people are gonna be concerned about, but if you're kind of a one-off producer, it won't really be of the same effect as if you have a theater company that you're running year-round, you have an LLC, then you have a lot more to watch out for. We're gonna put out some information about that, that's being vetted by a lawyer, and making sure that we can provide the correct information so that you can come through, right? Budgeting. So basic budgeting workshop we're gonna talk through right now is setting your ticket prices. How do you do that? You have your regular price, a participant price, which is going to always be, is going to be set by you. You can say, like, if they're a participant, they have a different price that they see when they come to the site. And then you also have your community price, which is anybody who has a button, which is $1 off all of those tickets. So anybody who has a Fringe button gets $1 off tickets at the Fringe automatically. That's built into our ticketing site. You don't have to put that information in there.
Yeah.
But you can also say that you want to give a further discount to participants as well. Automatically, you can do discount codes. There's a lot of ways you can do that. We'll go over this next week. It's just as you start to play with those things, ticketing, it'll become obvious to you.
Today's the what's possible discussion.
So, average ticket price, $12, I would say. You probably don't want to go, if you're a first-time Fringer, definitely don't want to go too much more than that. If you don't have the connections already in there, I would say that it's really good to stick towards the average, unless you have a good reason. Again, all of these things are meant to be broken. Everything that we say is kind of like best practices, but people have been like, F it, I don't believe you, Ellen, and then have done wonderfully, which is great, and I love it. So you're gonna have like your nightly gross. So you want to like set your budget based on your nightly gross, which is going to become your like nightly gross times the number of performances plus your like donated income. If you guys are doing any fundraisers, is going to be your total gross, and that's how you're going to break even, is knowing that. So to get your nightly gross, you're going to want to do your capacity, which is like in this theater spaces of over 70 seats. You're also going to want to think about your live stream capacity, which is infinite, but you might want to be a little bit like maybe 10 people per show or something like that will buy it. Who knows? You have to start to think, what are you going to be able to sell? Budget with about 40 to 60% sell through of what you actually can do. Because you're going to say like, oh, I'm going to sell out every night. Maybe, but you want that to be a good surprise instead of like you're banking on that to be able to break even. So you're going to think about your capacity times your ticket price times your sell-through rate. So if it's 40% times 0.4, and then that will be your nightly gross of what you can get in ticketing. And then your nightly gross, you're going to then times that by the number of performances. And then I would highly encourage that you do fundraising outside of your ticketing. Do a little party, have sell some t-shirts. Make sure that there's some other ways that you're doing this. Are you doing a GoFundMe? Most people who are doing this is a big project that they've been planning for years, and your friends and family are willing to help you get there. And this is the place that you're going to be able to do that. you're doing this huge thing at Fringe, you're having an amazing premiere, make it exciting to your parents and your friends and family and the people that you see on the street, and be like, please give me money, and then do it.
Well, in live stream, you now suddenly have, like, I don't know, a lot of people in Los Angeles are not from here. I'm not from here. To be able to do a show and live stream it and be like, hey, mom and dad, like, you get to watch it. So you suddenly have this audience, if you're not from here, that has access to your Fringe show in a way that used to create a plane ticket need and a hotel room and all of these things.
Another great thing is that during this next panel, the budgeting one that we keep talking about, we are going to encourage like budget transparency, and we're right now updating like a couple sample budgets so that if you're a little bit lost about what it costs to do a Fringe show, you'll be able to see a couple different versions. We have some from 2015 that are posted right now, but we're trying to update that because it's 2022, a very different story. So we'll be talking about that in 2 weeks. It'll be a really fun time. Please come to that panel. It is probably one of the most important ones for a producer to come to. Marketing, you know the tools, you gotta do it. Social media, flyers, ad buys, social networking, blogging about your show. Are you gonna do Instagram lives? There was like this adorable like two-person, it was TL and Kevin like did these like chats where they were like they were like had these like Facebook chats where they were like doing these like Facebook Live Zoom things with different shows and interviewing them, and it like created this buzz around their show. Like, what can you do for free that takes time, that gets people to like remember that your show is coming up? Because it takes people about 7 times to see your show to remember to buy tickets. They're not gonna see the flyer and then go buy tickets, although we would love that. They're gonna need to like be reminded of it constantly. Ads on the site, ads in the guidebook. Some people like to do ads other places, but I would say that if you're looking for community buy-ins, that's where you're gonna really see your place.
The website ads are literally called impressions because they are leaving an impression every time you go to the site. Because I'm the same way, I'll see it once or twice, and then the third time, like, man, I gotta know what that show is about, and that's when I click on it.
Also, show up. You already are doing it, but literally by being like, hi, my show is this, and this is my question, it puts people's like name, like your name and your show in their minds. You guys are already doing the right thing by being here. Also, our friends online are showing up in that virtual space as well, so you're doing the right thing too.
Yeah.
We're gonna have office hours back in full swing. I think that's one of the most important things I can say. Come to office hours. They're one of the most important things. And if you're scared, like, I'm a very socially anxious person. Don't worry, like, we've got you. If you're like, I'm nervous, come up to one of us. We're very good at introducing you to the right people that are gonna be of the same spirit as you, who have the same ability. That's why we do what we do, because we like to read people and be like, oh, you guys would like each other. Let's shove you together. And then sometimes it fails, and then I push you to another person. It's fun, so come to us if you're scared, because we are too.
We're all anxious, yeah. Like social, like I'm the same way. I'm nervous, and then eventually I remember, like, oh my God, we're all friends here. We all, even if we're not friends, I know we will be by the end of the day because that's how Fringe works. And also, but we also understand that, like, we're coming out of a pandemic. Prior to, I mean, I have a small bubble. Like I said, I watch, my 2-year-old goddaughter, so my bubble is pretty small in regular life. So this is a big outing for me. I put on pants, everybody. This is a big day. And so we know that we're all coming into the social environment in that fashion, and that's okay. So I think we have grace for one another, but we also learn how to, like, we're talking boundaries with masks and knowing what our comfortabilities are, so start to play in that, but know that we're all in this together. We're all gonna be a little weirder than we were in 2019, and that's okay.
And
in fact, what a time to celebrate it.
And we might forget things. And if we're like very nice to each other and go, oh, this is my boundary right now, instead of being like, what are you doing? I told you. It feels so much better to everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be interesting. We're gonna be practicing too. We already have planned to going to a bar once before office hours starts so that we can learn how to do it again.
Practice.
Because we're insane. Like, that's how we're practicing. Learn how to, like, decide how to practice for yourself. Meal prep, take care of yourself.
We'll write our adventure down. That way you can have a similar pre-adventure. Also know if you look at all like Ellen from the back, I will come up and hug you thinking you're Ellen, because I apparently don't know how to read people without the mask.
Twice. One of the people was like 3 times my age.
Yeah, I'm just saying, so we're all in this weird place together, so let's just, like, deep breath, we'll get through it together, as long as we're kind and we're gracious with one another.
Create a press plan. It's really important that although we do press marketing, you also do that. If you don't know how to do that, we have a workshop all about it. We're gonna handhold you through every step.
We'll elbow.
You're not alone. Yeah, elbow, we'll elbow you all the way. Oh, no, that doesn't sound as nice. Know your audience. Pick a show that was an award-winning show from the past that mirrors the experience you want to have at Fringe. So go to like 2019 winners, 2018 winners, 2017 winners. Find the show that matches your show the best. follow their plan. Where did they post? How did they market themselves? Did it seem like they were very active? Did they win any awards? Would you want to go over those awards? Start to like steal, maybe talk to them. They might be at office hours. A lot of our fringers return every year. And what's so cool is that people just want to see you win. Like, we want to see you win. They want to see you win. And we're going to like build you up to a place where you can.
Yeah.
We have so much of this coming up later. I'm going to skip the
Yeah.
rest because it's not really important.
It's the foam on top of the cappuccino, right? We're getting you, so these are all the things that are gonna come your way so that you can start to maybe think about them now. That way when it comes to these workshops, you have questions that are more specific and are learning the specifics. But this is the,
Know that we will walk you through every step. We have a workshop for every step.
Yep.
And if you're like, I need that information now, Ellen, I'm very anxious, go to 2019's workshop. We're gonna function the most similar to 2019. Pick up some of those 2021 COVID things, but other than that, like, look at 2019, what works in 2019, and start to do them.
yeah. I think we're gonna close it out with why we do Fringe, because that's important. I feel like there's that full transparency with money, with data, with how the festival has been, but it's also why the hell are we here? Why do we care, and why do we produce this festival that you're joining us on? Because it's an adventure that you're joining us on, and it's important to know why we're doing this. And the big reason, like community, we talked about the drinking game, like it's community, to build a community, a strength amongst artists, so that we all succeed together. And now we have this camaraderie that goes up well beyond Fringe. It's beautiful, the relationships, the companies, the art that is created because of the relationships built at Fringe. You are now not alone in this theater community in Los Angeles. You have a place, and we'll do off-season office hours. We'll continue to do events when Fringe isn't happening because you want it, because it's people get together, and Fringe is a year-round thing at this point because of the community. It's also the cross-pollinating of artists and audiences. Audience is the big one. Now you have, I'm gonna go see Ellen's show, and then I discover Gordon's show because of Ellen's show, and now before you know it, I only came to see my friend Ellen play Tree Number 4 in that really fun musical. But now I'm seeing 7 shows because I've discovered that this one show had all of these other shows with it, right? So you're gonna develop your audience. It's also what the producer's training ground comes into play again. It's a place for you to either learn how to produce in LA, or maybe we're coming in after a pandemic. I think a lot of us have switched career goals. We've switched passions. It's a great chance to redevelop maybe a skill you already had. And we're gonna help you from A to Z through that journey. It's to develop a culture of cooperation. That's what we do. Like we're talking about the knowledge share. It's to develop a safe space to all be better because we're sharing information. We're celebrating each other's successes, but we're also a support for your failures. And we're doing this together, and that's the togetherness of it all. The community is really why we do what we do. And at the end of the day, it's a summer camp for adult artists. That is a shit ton of fun.
And it's really fucking fun.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, it's a really, really fun experience.
I did
and
make sure
you
this was
get
marked not for children,
addicted
so.
to like the community that is built here, and you make
Yeah.
lifelong friendships. Like I said, I was not in theater before I started working at Fringe, and now I am all about theater.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I came in as a volunteer just to support a friend who was working on a thing, and I could not leave. I mean, last year I cried after our first in-person event, and I'm not kidding, I cried. I am the staff. I'm the tree of the staff, for sure. But like a total sap, I just bawled my eyes out because it was like the connection to be in community, to share space with the amazing humans who choose Fringe as their journey as well. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm so excited to share this next journey with all of you here today and here at home in your sweatpants, you lucky, lucky ducks.
Before we leave, we have 2 minutes for questions. I'm just kidding. We have like 2.5-ish,
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Just kidding.
So, any last questions?
Yeah.
Of course. I may have missed this because I had to rush around and put money in the meter. I don't know how anybody else is still sitting here not feeling nervous. Did nobody park in the meter?
We assigned someone.
Yeah, we
Anyway, I wondered if you covered the live stream and tips from the people watching it. Is there a tip jar? I mean,
Oh.
it doesn't have to be called a tip jar, but
We don't have that built into our site, but if you wanted to have that be a part of your stream experience, that's not against our rules.
No, not at all. I mean,
there are a lot of
There's a lot of
bonuses,
like
Yeah.
websites that you could do that, and if you're streaming through a platform, our website accepts all live stream links. So like if you did like a Zoom link or if you did a YouTube link, Vimeo, any of these sites. So just make sure that that platform works with the site, do a test, and then of course you could add that in, and that would be a great way. I would highly encourage that. That
Yeah.
sounds great.
But you don't have it, you think you would?
We have the tickets to the town hall. We have like, are you talking about for us or a
No,
place
for them,
artists?
for artists to get
Yeah,
the
right.
tip.
Got it. No, I'm never gonna say no. It's possible. I was years ago. I had a lot of meetings with a company trying to basically work with them to give exactly that, a tip jar for all of the artists. I will say it's a complicated matter because it's essentially us getting involved with your finances, and that's something we want to avoid.
Well, it'd be like the
But
ticket office.
you should do it, if you can build that into your live stream, I would highly suggest
Yeah,
to do it. And you can
absolutely.
also ask for, like, you can be like at the end of the show, be like, here's my Venmo, see you later. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna say that that's against the rules, and you guys can
No.
totally do that.
Yeah.
And that's legal for you to do.
And people do it on Facebook just for fun. You know, having a hard day, I want ice cream, Venmo me, and people do it. So,
Yeah,
like,
so I would highly recommend like using like a paid system like that, putting it on your program, putting it into your live stream,
Yeah.
but we don't provide that platform.
So I had a similar question. Do people ever like have a percentage of their ticket go to a charity? Or
Absolutely.
maybe even to
Yes.
Fringe Festival? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very common, and people will kind of go with the theme of their show too, to kind of connect that. Even some people have those people come and present at the end and give a pitch. Very common.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, you don't make a profit, so is this a tax thing that one writes on?
We are a 501c3, so we have like any donations made to Fringe.
Any donations made to us, but your registration fee can't be written off because it's not a donation. It goes towards the service.
Yeah.
So, but anything else that you donate on top of that, like if you put in like a donation to, like we do pay what you can tickets or things like that, that is technically,
However, you could go through like Fractured Atlas. Like there are sites where you could partner with them to make donations more feasible for you in your production. So there are definitely outlets, and I believe that is also discussed on the budgeting and fundraising. All of that will be discussed, but there's definitely avenues.
for you to gain 501c3 status
Yeah.
so that you can make tax, like your stuff tax write-off
Deductible.
fish.
Yeah,
Thanks. Words.
nailed it.
Anybody else have any last minute questions so that we can go on to our
Nothing
mixer?
And
Nothing
so we
online.
need to see my person. Sorry.
All right, I think that we're gonna call it. It was so lovely being here with everyone. We're gonna have a drink outside if anybody would like to join us, get to know us.
We're in this together.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All
Happy
right.
Fringe 2022! I'm very comfortable on this couch. Dave, turn us off. Dave. I think my computer's over here. That's gonna be a really close up on my face. This is gonna be fun. No, that's not the one. Oh,
I think I'm gonna go grab Dave.
Hey, Dave.
y'all, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Woo!
Look at that. Come have a drink.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah.